Good morning and welcome to Peace Out, where we are all learning together to peace out, no matter what, right? We are getting this down. We are practicing every day. You know what? Salvation is not even just a one and done. That's one and done in the sense that when you're saved, you're saved. But we're always growing. We're always learning. We're always getting quicker at trusting God. We want it, we have, especially when we spend time in the Word and learn what He's said about us and what He's given us. That's maybe what we'll talk about next week. Because I've been thinking about that a lot. What am I believing about myself? Am I believing all these crazy thoughts that go through my head and things that experiences have tried to teach me, or am I believing what God said in this word about me? Maybe we'll talk about that next week. That's kind of been on my mind the last couple of days. So we're going to kind of take a trip today to a familiar place, but we're going to start in Psalm 25. Psalm 25 is a really good one. It's a good one to memorize and just really take to heart, because in the first part of Psalm 25, it talks about David just praying, show me your ways, lead me, point out the right road for me. Remember me, Lord. Forgive me, teach me, show me, guide me, lead me, push me. And, he didn't say that, but I did. If I need to be pushed, push me too, right? So it's a really good psalm full of lots of stuff. But I got stuck in verse 15 this morning. And here's why. It says, my eyes are always looking to the Lord for help. I could just stop right there. I'm going to for a second. My eyes are always looking to the Lord for help. Who or what or where are you looking for help for anything you're going through in your life, right? There's all kinds of resources these days. If you need, and especially online, right? You need to learn about finances. There's classes, right? Go take, what's his name? Dave Ramsey's classes, right? He's got lots of classes on free classes, even for managing your finances. There's apps to manage your finances. You can learn about it. You can learn about investments. You can learn about all kinds of stuff that I never learned and wished I had, right? If you want to learn about how to work on websites, you can do that. If you want to learn a new skill or a new trade, you can do that. If you want to learn how to meditate, there's stuff on that. If you want, no matter what you want to learn, you can find it online. But that's not your help. That is not your help. Matter of fact, it's usually our distraction, right? And we want to use the internet and the technological capabilities that we have today to get the gospel out there, to get the good news out there and use it for good things. But there's a lot of bad things out there too. It's not our help. God is our help. I remember sitting in the SICU waiting room there in Shreveport and just praying and saying, God, you are my help. These nurses are great. These doctors are great. The staff here is great. They're taking good care of Chris, but they are not my help. My help comes from the Lord. So we start in any situation by just going back to God. It doesn't matter what we're doing, what's on our plate, how good it is, how bad it is, how in between it is, how confusing it is or complex it is. We start by saying, God, you are my help. Help me find the right resources. Help me give in the right spots. Help me learn the right things. Help me find the right scripture for today, right? He is our help. God is our help. But listen to this. My eyes are always looking to the Lord for help, for he alone can rescue me from the traps of my enemies. Our great enemy, big enemy, not great as in great, not great at all, uh, he trips us up. And we can go all the way back to Eve and look at in Genesis 3. If he wasn't afraid to go into the garden that God just created and talk to Eve and try to talk her out of what God had given her in the very beginning, he's not afraid to try to talk us out of what God's given us, right? There's no fear there for him. If he wasn't afraid to go into this beautiful garden, this beautiful ecosystem that God had created, and to the people God had created, the only two people on earth, he started early. He wasn't afraid to do that. It didn't hold him back at all. He planned it. As soon as he saw what God was doing, he planned it, right? He's not afraid to try to trip us up. That's all he wants to do, is distract us from what God said. That's what he did with Eve. This is his plot all along. And this is what life tends to do, to distract us from what God has given us, to distract us from what God said. And, there are so many different paths we could take on that, because if God says go to Africa, and yes, sometimes he does, right? And then and then we don't have the money for it, then we get worried about it. And then we get messed up, and then maybe we will get it, maybe we won't. We got to believe what God says. I think of Lester Sumrall, who, when he got on that first boat to go meet, it wasn't Barton Stone, was it? Whoever he was going to go meet. I can't remember the guy's name. In, on the other side of the world, Australia or someplace. He had like 50 cents in his pocket. Maybe it was $1.10 or something like that in his pocket. He had bought a one-way ticket and went on faith. We don't see that much anymore. If it's not already covered and God hasn't already laid it all out there and we can't do it in our own power, sometimes we don't trust God as much because we get distracted by things instead of listening to what God said. But that's what Eve did. Eve got distracted when the enemy asked her a question. That serpent asked her a question. If she had the key right there, she could have just said, Adam, what did God say? She could have gone back to the truth, but she chose not to. We have that same opportunity every single day. Stuff comes at us to distract us, to confuse us, to get us off track, to do whatever, to make us think about something else. If we will just go back to what the truth says, we're not going to fall for the trick of the enemy. Right? We always go back to what God said, not what's run, all those crazy thoughts running through our heads, all these crazy things coming at us on TV and the internet and all these other places. If we just go back to what God said, we'll be okay. First thing I want to go to, of course, because this is peace out, is that he gave us peace, period. He never took it back. So when you feel that peace disrupted, or you feel like what God has given you is disrupted, go back to the truth. Don't be an Eve. Don't be Eve. Eve just fell for the trick and just said, I don't know, maybe, I don't know. No, she could have changed the whole trajectory had she just said, what did God say? And that's what gets, when we go back to the Lord for our help and go back to the truth of what this Bible says about us, about our situations, about our thinking, about our planning, about our lives, about our eternity, about everything. That's when we don't fall for the trap of the enemy, when we always go back to, but what did God say? Because y'all who know me know I have thousands of thoughts. In a few seconds, I can have a lot of thoughts, and they're all over the place. I have to constantly reel those in and go back and go, no, God said this, or the scripture says this. And that's my plug there for reading every day, for studying every day, for doing devotionals every day, however you can apply that to your life, talking to God every day, getting to know him on a personal level. That's all he wanted from the very beginning and still wants, right? Then we go back to, he's our help. So when something comes at us, grab a scripture, grab a faith statement, make a declaration. I will trust in him. For he alone can rescue me from the traps, plural, of the enemies, plural, right? So here's my plug again for get in the word, get a scripture for whatever you're facing. Don't take things for face value. Don't take people for face value. Always go back to what did God say, and it'll save you so much. It would have saved Samson. If Samson had said, oh, wait a minute, what did God tell me? Right? Wait a minute. It would have saved Jonah. He could have not ever we could have skipped a whole book in the Bible because he'd just gone, oh, Nineveh, let's go. Right? But he ended up going back to what God said anyway, right? And so did Samson. And we have these people that go back, but if we just always go back, make it our dedication, our declaration, and our decision to go back to what God said on every single matter, we won't fall for the traps and tricks of the enemy. We won't believe the lie. The truth is the only thing that's going to dispel a lie. All the thinking in the world, trying to figure it out, putting it on black and white, making spreadsheets. I'm getting good at that, by the way. Making spreadsheets. All these things will not dispel a lie. The only thing that will dispel a lie is the truth. And that's where God comes in. So always go back to the truth, no matter what you're facing. It would have saved Eve. It would have saved Adam. It would have saved so many people as we read their stories in the Bible if they'd have just gone back to the truth and what God said about it. What he said about you, what he said about me. We're beloved. He's with us. He's gave us peace. He's given us mercies. We have enough grace for whatever's on our plate today, whatever gets taken off of our plate today. And that's why we can peace out, because we have the truth living inside of us, the Spirit of truth. And he will lead us into all truth. That's how we dispel the lies, come against our brains and every area of our lives, right? So have a great day. Peace out. I'll see you guys again Monday.